Guys, welcome back to Mets Central. This is Mets fan reaction game 117, where the Mets dropped the second game of this Mariners series 4-0. And once again, they embarrassed themselves. I mean, where do we start with this game? Because there's really nothing much to recap. If I wanted to recap this game, I could basically do it in 6 sentences. Basically. Logan Gilbert was dominant. The Mets batting order sucked from head to toe. Just awful, garbage, pathetic, whatever word you want to use. Shamania was awful. Brazoban pitched well. Reed Garrett pitched well in his first start off the IL. And there's really nothing. Oh, and Phil Maton gave up a run in the 7th inning, I think. Yeah, the 7th inning. I mean, where do we go? Where do we go from this? I mean, listen. I get it. The Seattle Mariners have arguably one of the best or the best. It's honestly down to your opinion, but they have one of the best pitching staffs in the MLB, both starting wise and bullpen wise. But at the end of the day, you guys are major league professional hitters in a playoff race right now. In a playoff race. And you can't figure out a way to crack the Mariners at all? Really? Really? Listen, I understand. Logan Gilbert, really good pitcher. Bryce Miller, who started yesterday, very good pitcher. Listen, I get that. They're both very good pitchers at the end of the day. But your job as professional hitters in the MLB is to adapt. And they couldn't do that. I mean, how many times do we have to watch guys like Pete Alonso, Francisco Alvarez, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Tyrone Taylor, all these guys? How many times do they got to go up there to the batter's box and keep chasing sliders and curveballs that are nowhere near the zone? How many times are they going to do that? I mean, seriously, it was embarrassing tonight. The Mets have not scored a run in 19 straight innings. 19. They didn't score in the final couple of innings of the final game of the Rockies. Listen, I'm not going to complain about that because they were already dominating and they won that game. So I'm not going to complain there. But the last 18 innings against the Mariners, you couldn't muster up a run? Are you serious? I didn't even notice this in this game, right? Because just of all the awful at bats, right? The Mets did not put a guy in scoring position today. They couldn't get a guy to second base. Now, listen, I get it. I get it. In the first inning, there should have been Lindor was on first. J.D. Martinez was up. He hit a ground ball up the middle. It really should have gone through, but Polanco made a good play. Listen, I get that. But that was in the first inning. You're telling me for the rest of the 8 innings after that, you couldn't get a guy on second base? What are we doing here? And listen, it doesn't get any easier tomorrow. Luis Castillo's on the mound for the Mariners. Luis Castillo's pretty fucking goddamn good. Pretty goddamn good pitcher. So, what, you're going to be shut out for a third time tomorrow? You better figure this out. You cannot get swept and go 4-6 on the road trip. You know what even makes it worse? Like a sweep is being swept is unacceptable, right? But you could have at least handled a series loss if you took care of business against the Angels and swept the Rockies. They had a 10-game road trip. 6 of them were against the Angels and Rockies. You're telling me you couldn't muster up 5 or 6 wins against those 2 teams? No, they only got 3. Because the other win was against the Cardinals in that makeup game. They better fix up, because how many and not only that, they were just chasing sliders and curveballs out of the zone all night. How many fucking ground balls are you gonna hit? I mean, Jesus Christ. It's like we went back in time to the first games of the Rockies series. Everything was a fucking ground ball. Guys, the reason why the Mets had one of the best lineups throughout June and most of July was because they were hitting the ball in the air and hitting home runs. They have reverted back to the 21, 22, and 23 Mets, where they're incapable of putting the ball in the air and hitting home runs. Like, I'm sorry, but we've gone over this. We've gone over this many times in the podcast. The reason why teams over the past couple of years, like the Braves, the Rays, the Dodgers, the Phillies, other teams like that, the Rangers of last year, the reason why these teams go deep is because they hit home runs and put the ball in the air. If the Mets are not going to do that, and listen, because their rotation right now, like, yes, while guys have pitched well recently, like, we cannot sit here and be truthful to ourselves and say this rotation will carry us through the playoffs or to the playoffs. It won't. The way the Mets will get to the playoffs and potentially make a deep run in the playoffs is by hitting. And there's guys in that lineup that are much better than that tonight. Listen, I get it. It's 2 games. But the fact that you could have mustered up a run, get a guy in scoring position today, it's unbelievable. I mean, listen, they better fix up tomorrow. But like I said before, it doesn't get any easier because Luis Castillo's on the mound tomorrow. Getting into Sean Manaea, he was fucking awful. Like, he was just flat out awful. The velocity on his fastball was down a bit. It was down maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour because when I was watching the game, he was pretty much hitting 93 miles an hour on his fastball consistently. And that's been down because even they said on the broadcast, the last 2 games where Manaea's pitched well in the Cardinals and the Twins game, that he was really averaging out on his he was topping out on his fastball at 95, 96. So it was down a bit today. So clearly he just didn't have it today. But I mean, let me just pull up the stat line for Manaea because it was just, 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. He reverted back to the old, not even old Sean Manaea. I mean, this is worse than old Sean Manaea because at least Manaea before those last 2 starts and most of the season, at least he would give you 5 innings. He gave you 3 innings, 5 walks, 5. In the last 2 starts, Manaea only gave up 1 walk against the Cardinals and Twins. 1 walk in 2 starts. He had 5 today. 5. He was awful. Now, look, hopefully this is just 1 start from Manaea, and hopefully he rebounds nicely in the next start he has, which it's probably going to be against the Marlins, I'd assume. Yeah, it's going to be against the Marlins. So hopefully he rebounds nicely, but, I mean, this was one of the reasons why we really wanted a starter at the deadline. And not just a starter, an ace. Because Senga went down, Scott's hurt. They didn't have a guy who you could just visually and just say, like, yeah, this guy's the ace. Like Manaea, while he's been pitching well, he's never been known as an ace. Sevy, yeah, his time earlier on in his time with the Yankees, he was their ace. But injuries and the fact that he hasn't thrown a lot of innings in the last couple of years has moved him away from that status of being an ace. And his last 2 starts haven't been exactly great. Quintana's nowhere near an ace. Peterson's a bullpen arm for me. He's not even a starter. So fucking get the ace conversation title out of here. Who do we really expect? Like hypothetically, let's say the Mets make the playoffs, right? And obviously, look, this could change, right? This could change. Manaea could easily bounce back, and he could just put this behind in the mirror and say it was a bad start. And listen, that happens, right? Every starting pitcher has a bad start. But it's concerning knowing that we can't look at this rotation and definitively say we have an ace. Like, seriously, who do we trust to like I said, hypothetically, who do we trust to take the ball game 1 of the wild card? Who do we trust? Really, no one. I mean, Sevy, sure, if he bounces back and, he doesn't have any health injuries, like, cool, when Sevy's on his game, he can perform. Manaea obviously has shown that, but once again, can they do that consistently? We don't know. And they really haven't shown it. Yeah, I mean, Sevy has shown it over the start of the season. But like I said before, with the fact that he hasn't thrown a lot of innings in the last couple of years, Are we going to start to see him degrade? Could we see injuries pop up again? It's a scary thought. And it's one of the reasons, like I said before, why we really wanted an ace at the deadline. But I mean, really, other than that, yeah, like I said before in my points when I was recapping this, Brazoban had a nice bounce back, appearance after that terrible one where he melted down against the Angels. 3 strikeouts in 2 innings. Like to see that. Reed Garrett looked good. His first appearance off the IL. I mean, he pitched 1 inning and he struck out the side. Splitter was working nicely. Fastball looked nice. So I guess that was the only really positives you can take from this game. And I guess probably if I had to say like the best hitter today, Lindor got 2 hits, 1 2 for 4. Really should have been 3, but Victor Robles made a nice diving play in center field. But yeah, and then on top of the fact that freaking I don't know how this guy continues to stay around, but how the fuck has Adam Ottavino kept his spot? Like, I really hope when Denzel Nunes or Sean Reed-Foley come back that this guy's off the team, because he can't be on this team anymore. I'm sorry, the guy's awful. Like, I don't know who gave this guy Jacob Trouba's phone number so he could coach him and tell him to pitch to the media so he can keep his spot in the rotation. But this guy's gotta go. I'm sorry. Like, you were a great pitcher a couple years ago. You were a solid reliever in 2022 for the Mets, but it's over for you. It's over for you. So I can only hope that when Nunes and Reed-Foley come back, that this guy's gone and we never have to see him. We never have to see him again pitch for the Mets. But yeah, I mean, listen, tomorrow, Sunday Night Baseball game on ESPN. Mets final game of this Mariners series. Sevy's on the mound for the Mets. Luis Castillo's on the mound for the Mariners, and yeah, the Mets could potentially embarrass themselves for the 3rd game in a row, and this time it could be on Sunday Night Baseball in front of the whole country. But let's see what happens, because there's always tomorrow, right? There's always another game. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, this mini rant that I had. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Obviously, we appreciate you guys supporting the channel. We want to keep feeding you guys content on the channel. We'll probably give you a post game. I'm sorry, not a well. Obviously, we'll give you a post game tomorrow, but we'll give you a series recap live podcast after this series ends. So probably because this series ends tomorrow. Mets have a day off Monday, so most likely Monday you will get another podcast from me and Evan. So, but yeah, that's gonna be it for us, guys. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace. Let's go Mets, baby.